Hi everybody, how's it going? Apologies in advance if there's a lot of background noise while I do this video. I'm trying to get through it as quickly as possible. Actually, I just only have this time frame to do it. They're doing work on my apartment building right now, and it's been so obnoxious and so loud. And yeah, it sucks. Most of the weekday, I have tried to not be here, even if I have the day off on Wednesday. And I haven't been streaming for the same reason, because there's going to be a lot of background noise. It's going to be hard to focus. But anyway, I have some pickups. There's going to be a theme to these, but I will do that whole big old stack of the same system last. Let's start off with some other stuff first. I have two Game Boy games here. Just noticed that piece of plastic got caught up in the bottom of this. I'll take it out when I actually play it. I'll find it. Tetris DX and Dragon Ball Z Legacy of Goku 2. Combination of Game Boy and Tetris is never a bad thing, so considering I didn't really have one for Game Boy, Tetris DX is a good option here. And Legacy of Goku 2 is the second of the three action RPG adventure type DBZ games on GBA, and it's supposed to be pretty good. There's a definite step up with each successive game in that series. Legacy of Goku 1 is supposed to be pretty meh, but this one's a good amount better, and Boost Fury is supposed to be good as well. We go on to Switch games here. I got 3 Switch games, including one that just came yesterday that I've been very excited about. But first, I grabbed this at Target. You can see from the sticker right here, this was $12.49 repackage for Scribblenauts Showdown, which I know a lot of people probably think was a huge flop, and I wouldn't be surprised if it isn't that great, but I do like Scribblenauts, and I was interested by this concept. It's a Scribblenauts party game, and it's probably better on the Switch than anything else, just given how more multiplayer friendly that is. But as you can tell, I also haven't opened it yet. Next one is Gal Metal, which I was following as it was coming out, and then realized that it was like super weeby and everything. So even though it's a rhythm game and it's got a metal rock and roll like focus, definitely didn't want to pick it up right away. But it got down to like $15. What I get at Best Buy or GameStop? I think I got this at GameStop for $15, and I haven't tried it yet. But you use the Joy-Con separate from each other, not on the grip. Like drums, and yeah, like I said, I haven't tried it at all yet. I don't know what I'm actually expecting, but the style of it, sorry, it's very distracting. I'm into it. So, and finally, limited run from yesterday. This is one I've been looking forward to getting for a long time. Bloodstained: Curse of the Moon. If you haven't seen any of it, it's basically a homage to everything good about 2D Castlevania, including, a character that has a whip and the logo design and everything. Curse of the Moon is the first game, and the second one is getting a full retail release. I can't remember what the title of it is, but Ritual of the Night or something. That could be totally wrong, but that's getting a more expansive, I think, Merge Games retail release later this year, but I'm excited to try this one, finally. A couple PS1 games, and this is where you're going to see what I talked about last month when I got the Swap Magic disc, so I'm getting some Japanese stuff. First of all, this is not Japanese or anything like that. Simpsons Wrestling, it's one of the worst games ever, but it's The Simpsons, and it's funny, and it's not a wrestling game, first of all, but yeah, you've probably heard some really bad things about this, and I won't pretend none of those are true. But it's something that I was kind of felt like I had to add into my collection. But then we got 2 Japanese PS1 games here. These are really cool. First it's the Japanese title translates to Klaymen with a K. But if you've seen this before, this is the Neverhood. We got Skull Monkeys, the sequel to it, on the PS1, which plays more like a straight platformer. This one is a little bit more adventure focused, but in any case, they are basically stop motion, claymation animated platformer / adventure games. And this one we got over here on PC, but the Japanese got it on the PS1 as well. We only got the second one on PS1, which is more platformy anyway. I might not be able to do too much with this game, but it was like $12, and I thought it was really awesome, and I just love looking at this game. It looks like a Primus video. That's what I said about the other one when I got it. Really cool stuff. And then this is one that came up really early when I started looking at best Japanese PS1 games to get. This is Galaxian III. Obviously, like in that series, Galaxian, published by Namco and whatnot. And this is kind of like a rail shooter, which, you know, I'll be able to play without much of a language barrier, and I love that sort of game, and it wasn't too expensive. I think this cost me less than $15. So that's pretty cool too. It's a very, very interesting looking game. Right up my alley. A couple PS4 titles here. You've probably seen this one a lot. Marvel Spider-Man. It's supposed to be incredible. Haven't touched it at all. And then this one, which I'm still not sure exactly how much of the tabletop game it shares its name with, it's based on, but Call of Cthulhu, when I was looking at it, there seemed to be a lot of what I liked about Dark Corners of the Earth, the Xbox PC game. That is fantastic and awesome and very hard to find. I'm very grateful I have it. There seems to be a bit more RPG elements in here than I thought there was, but regardless, this is really cool. I love Lovecraft. Having a PS4 game on it is really awesome. So that's 2 PS4 games in there, and just 1 Xbox game. And I actually did have this disc before, but I got it off Declutter because I only had the disc. I didn't have a case for it or anything. And knowing how Declutter works, which is, like I've mentioned many times before, it's how I get a lot of games at this point. Knowing how Declutter works, they go through everything by barcodes. So when I saw this come up on Declutter for like $5, and knowing I didn't have the case for it, it wasn't just that it would have the case here, which I see all the time, but there's no barcode on the case. So if they have the barcode and they have it in the system, then they must have the slipcase. And so this tremendous condition copy of Doom 3 Collector's Edition that has, if you don't know, has all this extra stuff on it, including Doom 1 and Doom 2, kind of a must-have for Xbox Original, I think, even more so than just Doom 3. And then we got some PS2 games. Now, I will say before I even bring this into frame, this is not a real copy of it. I bought this Rule of Rose Repro because of the Swap Magic thing, and I will never be able to justify spending the $300 that this game goes for, but is one of the most interesting and most, for that reason and for many other good reasons, sought after games on the PS2. And it's so interesting, in a game that I absolutely want to play. It's a game that there weren't games like this at the time. There's a lot of games like it now, but to see it in that time frame is very, very important to me. So I found somebody who makes nice PS2 repros, and I paid like $20 for this, which seems like a waste of money, but I'm really glad this is on my shelf. I know it's not real. It's kind of obvious that it's not real, which is good. If you look at the back of the disc, that's obviously not real, but I can play it, and it looks nice. And I like the idea that I got something that I like for playing Rule of Rose. This, however, is not fake. This is real. Yakuza 2. I did not pay that much for it because I got a super awesome find deal on Declutter. Gotta love it. And I bought it because I'm just obsessed with buying games that in and of themselves take like 30, 40, 50 hours to play, and are in series that I want to play and then not playing any of them. Because I've played like a little bit of Yakusoku Mommy, and I have like 2 other ones. I think I have Yakuza 0 as well, because it takes place in the 80s. So I've got a bunch of Yakuza games, and I haven't played them. Another one, the last one for this month, for games I can play because I have the Swap Magic. This is Mr. Mosquito. the Japanese version of Mr. Mosquito, which is just referred to as Ka. And there is actually a Japanese-only sequel that costs a little bit more than this. But I paid $5 for this online. And I would pay $5 just to have this cover, because look at this fucking ridiculous cover. It's just a foot with a teeny tiny little mosquito on it in the corner. So much better, arguably, than the yellow border Fresh Games thing that we got over here. So yeah, I've never played Mr. Mosquito. It's weird. It's right up my alley. I'm glad to have it. This, because I can't ever let any game looking like this, I'd never seen it before, escape my grasp. Eagle Eye Golf. It's just arcade golf game. I can't not buy the stuff like that. Published by Axis. Go figure, right? Cool. And then lastly, for PS2 and anything that's not Nintendo GameCube today, Outbreak File 2, Resident Evil. I don't love the Outbreak games, but this was a pretty good price for what this usually goes for. It's a lot. It's like 3 or 4 times what the first one usually goes for, and it being Resident Evil and a good price, I picked it up. So I'm happy about that. Alright, and lastly, big stack of GameCube games, because I've gone crazy. No, I will not go full set on GameCube games. There's too much trash on GameCube compared to the N64, which I have a reason that I like that so much. But GameCube is probably my second favorite system, not counting the Switch, which it's too early to make that decision right now. But yeah, I got to the point where I want GameCube stuff. I want things on GameCube that I wouldn't even necessarily buy on other systems. I'm considering even looking at what I have on other systems and upgrading to the GameCube copies, depending on how much more it costs and if it's worth it to do that. But let's just start at the beginning. I haven't really done that a lot yet. I did that with Dead to Rights. That was like last month. Anyway, Ty, the Tasmanian Tiger 3. Night of the Quincan, which is a little bit pricey compared to the other two, or compared to the first one. Then the second one's a little bit more, and then the third one's a bit more than that. But on GameCube, if I'm going to get it for anything, I'm glad I finally got all 3 Ty games. So I think I have 1 and 3 on GameCube, and I think I have 2 on PS2. I'm really, really intrigued by what this says on the back, where it's like customizable boomerangs and over 1,000 possible combinations of different boomerangs. And I'm like, I don't know what happened to the series, because I've only played like halfway through the first one. But I'm very interested to see where this series went. Another James Bond game, because there's so many James Bond games, and for the most part, I'd really just like to get them on GameCube at this point. It's what makes it seem worth it, all of the ones that are on there. GoldenEye, Rogue Agent. This is interesting because you actually play as a bad guy, is my understanding of this game. It's not GoldenEye 007, obviously. No matter how hard EA tried to make any game be GoldenEye, none of them ever will be, but there's some good stuff in there. This is probably the weakest of the first-person shooters from what I've read about it. Nightfire and Agent Under Fire are better, but this kind of completes the trilogy of first-person shooters on there. So that's pretty cool. Spyro, Hero's Tale. So I have Enter the Dragonfly on, I assume I have it on PS2, I must. And then Hero's Tale, the one that came after that, before they rebooted it with the Legend series. I'll probably pick up the first one. I believe that's the only one that came out on GameCube for the Legend series, was New Beginning. But even if they're not great, Spyro games, I love Spyro. Crashes is my thing, obviously, but I don't know why it's obvious. But yeah, Crash is my big thing. Spyro's great too. This is what shows you that I'm really going crazy, that I bought Splinter Cell. The first one. But I bought it for GameCube because it was cheap, and obviously we all know at this point that Splinter Cell is, on its own merits, is a fantastic game. So I was like, you know what? Throw it in there. I want this. A basketball game. I actually still probably want to pick up Courtside 2002 and an NBA Live, probably 2004 or 5. I'm not sure which one. Just to cover all my bases there, but I do have NBA 2K3, This is the first one from after the Dreamcast failed, so NBA 2K2 came out on like everything, Dreamcast and the newer systems, and then 2K3 was just the newer systems, no Dreamcast, and goes well with my NFL 2K3 and my NFL and NHL 2K3. Yeah, I have all those, all on GameCube, which is cool. And speaking of NHL 2003, not 2K3 with Jeremy Roenick on it, but I have NHL 2003, which I did upgrade from my PS2 copy so I could spread things around a little bit. I'm going to stick with 2004 on the PS2 because I have the Joe Sakic cover, and Joe Sakic is my favorite hockey player ever. But to spread something around to the GameCube, we'll go with 2003 because it only has 03, 04, which I want on PS2 for that reason, 05, and 06, which I want on PS2 for the NHL 94 mode in it, which isn't in the GameCube version, I found out. So either 2003 or 2005, I could still pick up 2005 because I don't have that. But, yeah, picking up one of the EA NHLs for GameCube was important to me. This game, there's a bunch of motocross games on the GameCube, and I actually was trying to get my hands on Freestyle Metal X, and then they decluttered, lost it, and refunded me, and I was actually really bummed out about it because I really wanted that. Because it looks ridiculous. If you've never seen Freestyle Metal X, I'll probably get it in the future, but it's got 3 different covers on each system. They all look insane, and they're supposed to be pretty good. And so is this, MX Superfly featuring Ricky Carmichael. I think this is actually the sequel to MX 2002, which didn't come out on GameCube. But from what I've read, this is supposed to be a pretty good motocross game. Not that I have a lot of understanding of what would be good or bad about them, other than just not being like a complete mess of controls or whatever. Another game that shows you I've gone completely insane. Naruto Class of Ninja 2. I've never watched Naruto in my life, but I've read the GameCube anthology cover to cover, and there's 4 Naruto fighting games on the GameCube, and there's so many. There's so many. But there's 4 on the GameCube, 2 of which didn't come out here. But this is supposed to be actually a really good fighting game, regardless of the Naruto thing. So getting it for like $4, I was into it because it's supposed to be good on its own merits and a good Naruto game. Not that I would know. Stuff like this, which you've probably seen all over the place for GameCube, is actually one of the things that I've been grabbing because most of the time they are fairly decent for what they are. And Finding Nemo, with the amount of polish and everything that has gone into it, Finding Nemo is a pretty good game. Just really short and, pretty easy and stuff. But no reason not to have this on a GameCube if you're going for GameCube stuff that's worth owning. This is a really interesting game, actually. This is Beach Spikers, a Sega published, basically equivalent of Dead or Alive beach volleyball, but less creepy. It's basically like Virtual Fighter and Virtual Racing. Like, let's make a really decent sim of beach volleyball. And they did. It's supposed to be pretty good. It's Sega AM2. Doing things well. So that's nice. AllStar Baseball 2003. Never really got any AllStar Baseball post N64. So this is AllStar Baseball, a good one. Apparently 2002 is not great, and then 2003 and 2004 are not like 2003 is better, and then 2004 is better than that, but 2, 3, and 4. 3 and 4 are better than 2. So I grabbed one of those. Another kiddie game that's, solid and everything. Series of Unfortunate Events, which I love. And if you haven't seen the Netflix series, it's fantastic. You should go watch this. But obviously, this is the Jim Carrey movie. Still fun. Still a fun film. I've been talking about Rugrats games with people lately, but this is the only one that I have here because the only one on GameCube. Rugrats Royal Ransom. Mini games and shit, and probably not that great, but it's Rugrats, and I actually like Rugrats. I like the 64 ones, I like the PS1 ones, and then we have that one. Grabbing Madden while I'm at it too, to go with my NFL 2K3. Madden 06 is one I didn't really have. I will pick up Madden 08 because it's the last game released for the GameCube, and it's kind of hard to find compared to other Maddens on the system, so I will pick that up at some point, but I did grab 06 as well because I don't have that on anything. Again, Pixar, kiddie games, but good stuff. The Incredibles. People are really into the second one as well, so I will probably get that too eventually. But this is supposed to be good. Beat 'em up, because what else should it be? Made by Heavy Iron, too, who made the good SpongeBob's. Here's the kind of the big one out of all the GameCube games, Kirby Air Ride, which is a game that I've never managed to really understand because I've never played it for long enough, but it's also, you basically have to play it for long enough to break apart from the Mario Kart mentality, and that's why I need to actually purchase it. And also being the only Kirby game on the GameCube, good reason to pick it up. People swear by this game for good reason. It's just that you have to actually play it. So yeah, that's one that had been on my list for a while actually. This is Major League Baseball 2K6, which is the only baseball game that came out after MVP 2005, and the only 2K baseball game that ever came out on the GameCube. But I don't have the regular Derek Jeter cover on it. I bought this specifically so I could print this cover for Nintendo Pen and Chase Baseball with David Ortiz on it that got canceled, and I'm so upset about that all the time. Doesn't matter that we had MVP 2005 that year. To have gotten a Nintendo published game, baseball game, on the GameCube would have been great. So this is sort of my, covering for that. The most interesting thing to me about 2K6 isn't just that it's the only game from that year for baseball. It uses kind of the Tiger Woods mechanics for the swinging, where you take the C-stick and you pull back and start your swing motion by pulling back on the C-stick, and then you release it or push up on the stick to swing to actually follow through, which is really cool. I've said it a bunch of times. It's kid stuff. It's good for what it is. The only reason that this doesn't really get talked about for being actually a really good game, from what I've seen, is that people don't really care about Narnia the way they do about Harry Potter. Which, if you ask a lot of people, they'll probably tell you that the Harry Potter games are really good. They don't really care about the Narnia games. But this is also made by Traveler's Tales, who also did the Finding Nemo one. So that's cool. And probably the same things are true of this as are true of Finding Nemo. It's good for what it is. It's fun. It's good for its audience. It's really short. Kind of easy. But that's cool. I actually have... These are next to each other, so I'll just bring them up. There's two snowboarding games here. One of them does not sound like it would be a snowboarding game, but Dark Summit is very strange to me. It's literally a story-focused, mission-based snowboarding game. It's not great. It's not as good as the other snowboarding games on the GameCube, like SSX and this, but it's interesting enough that I wanted to have it. And then 1080 Avalanche. 1080... I've never really liked that much because it's the first one on 64 that everyone raves about is too simulation-based for what I was used to by the time that I played it. And then this one isn't as good as SSX, which is why I don't appreciate the N64 games because I was used to SSX. But it is Nintendo published. It's 1080. It's also good for what it is, so I might as well get it. I've got that. I did not end up getting the special edition that has an extra CD with it from Cauterize, and it's like a little mini CD, and I'm like, how am I supposed to play this? But yeah, I got that. And then last but probably least, also Freestyle Street Soccer. If you don't know this is a Blockbuster exclusive, definitely a precursor to FIFA Street. It predates it by 2 or 3 years, I think. It's not great, but look at it. Oh my god, look at that. And that's it. That's it. There's probably going to be more GameCube games next month because I'm on that kick. I've gone GameCube crazy. And I'll see you when we get there. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me talk about good, maybe not so great GameCube stuff and some other things. Cool. I'll stream Castlevania when it's convenient, by which I mean when there's not a bunch of noises going on. And I have the time, and I'm not exhausted. But I'll see you when that happens.